All right, y'all, I'm going to bring to you today a build I've had in my mind for quite a little while now, and it kind of goes into the video where I talked about retrofuturism and the next popular phase of surplus and being clone correct and all those other things. So I have a M4 carbine build here, and after some research, I realized that an M4 carbine actually is a 14.5-inch barrel, not a 16-inch barrel. So when I was putting this together, it was actually a little bit difficult to find a proper 14.5-inch barrel with carbine gas and everything else, and the front sight post that's all correct and everything else. It was actually kind of hard to find those. So I waited for BCM. Actually, BCM makes a very high quality upper, specifically for this purpose of making your M4 carbine clone. It comes with a standard A2 flash hider, and I got that pinned and welded too. So it was kind of an exercise for me to really do my research to get a M4 carbine that was more or less very close to like the one I would use in the service. Finally, after a little while, the uppers came in stock and I bought it. And then I also looked for a M4 carbine, I guess, clone correct, if you want to say, lower, right? So I just wanted to say M4 carbine or M4A1 carbine or whatever, M4 carbine of some flavor on the roll marks there on the lower. Everything else I didn't really care too much about because I like to get the, shall we say, 90% solution when it comes to making clone correct rifles. So as long as it looks the part and it functions pretty much the same as the real ones do, I'm totally cool with it. It doesn't really matter to me that like the individual barrel markings doesn't say like Colt, or the pieces don't have a cage code, or this is not the correct furniture for this, that, and the other, you know. But anyway, let me show you the rifle all put together. You can see right here, I even got my bayonet attached on it. Oh boy. So, and this is a actual surplus Knights rail as well. I bought that years ago, and when I got it in the mail, that thing was absolutely beat to hell and back. Like, underneath these panels here, it is just absolutely beat to hell. In fact, when I took it apart to try to figure out how it fits on on my rifle, sand actually came out of all the little holes and little crevices and everything. I had to shake the handguard just a little bit. All the sand came out of it, and I was like, wow, this thing has probably been overseas into a few sandboxes here and there, you know. But yeah, I got my little bayonet on there for all your practical stabby needs, right? And I opted to go with a detachable carry handle here, which you could argue is more or less clone correct because, man, I've seen M4 carbines in all different kinds of configurations. It's really, really hard to say, well, in fact, it's not even accurate to say that, well, this is the only thing they used in the service, because I've seen all kinds of things, crazy stuff out there. I mean, I've seen on M4 carbines different kinds of grips. I've seen A1 grips, I've seen Magpul grips, I've seen BCM fighter grips, I've seen all kinds of crazy crap on the pistol grips. Same goes with the stocks. I've seen all kinds of crazy numbers of stocks. It's mostly this kind of like standard mil spec, adjustable style, but I've also seen the old style car stocks that are like the 2-position ones, even the ones that are made out of aluminum as well. I've seen those. When I was in Kuwait, I saw a ton of 10th Mountain Division dudes with some really, really nice rifles, but of course they were absolutely beat to hell as well, because they actually do real stuff, right? 10th Mountain Division dudes are pretty up there, and they had all kinds of different stuff just all over their rifle. I mean, if you want to say something is clone correct, I could say all the stuff that they were using is technically correct as well, because it's the real dudes using the real thing for real stuff, right? So that's kind of the liberty I take for myself when it comes to making things clone correct, my 90% solution, right? Now, if I can get proper surplus parts and it does actually look and function and everything else, absolutely, yeah, I want to go for those. But I'm not going to lose sleep over it either. Like I said, if it doesn't have little itty bitty roll marks or the proper forge markings, or it's not this or that or the other, like I'm not going to go crazy over that. But anyway, the build is a BCM 14.5 SOCOM profile upper. That means it has I can't really show you because I have the handguard on, but there's a special cut in the barrel for the SOCOM profiles that's slightly different from the other profiles available for M4 carbines. It was like a later development, I think. The only thing I'm missing, though, that I need to get at some point, really, is, well, either a Maytech rear sight with some kind of other sight on here, and the side sling swivel mount. So you'll see on M4 carbines in the service, they actually have a slide. They have a side-mounted sling mount here, basically clamped onto the barrel right here in between where the gas block sits in the front sight post. So at some point I'll need to go and get that, but for right now, this standard swivel right here is more than adequate. Not that I ever really intend to sling this all that much because I have a handy dandy carry handle. But yeah, this is my first foray into anything BCM related. I've never bought anything BCM, never used any of their products. I've always heard good things about them, but I just never actually used them, and I never knew anybody that actually owned one. So this was a very pleasant experience because BCM is having a sale, and I think I got the upper for like $550 all said and done, but they also gave you a free bolt carrier, which is also BCM marked as well, as you can see right there. I guess, yeah, if I was going to do this all over again, I'd ask for an unbranded upper, an unbranded bolt carrier here, because it takes a little bit away from the, military look, pure military look of the M4 carbine. But you know what? The components are just really super duper high quality. I've had nothing but great success with this, and I can't fault it too much. I'd say even that the quality I've been seeing out of this gun is actually higher than my Aero Precision stuff, which is definitely saying something because I love my Aero Precision stuff. The lower is a Aero Precision M4 carbine clone, quote unquote clone, and you can see the pretty cool little roll mark there. M4 carbine, property of USA, right? It's even got the 3-position right there, yeah. Safe semi-auto, that's pretty cool. It doesn't actually rotate to the auto position, which is kind of a shame, but I can fix that later if I really want to. Just for the aesthetics, right? Obviously it's semi-auto, but still pretty cool. Everything else about the lower, though, is standard mil spec. Like, it is a very boring lower. There's nothing fancy about it at all. At some point, I will go and order the LaRue 2-stage trigger, just because I've heard really good things about them. And I kind of want to make the trigger pull a little bit better in this gun, simply for the fact because I enjoy shooting this thing so much. So I'm gonna take the bayonet off here so I don't, poke a new hole in my my table here or my walls. But yeah, the overall package is just really, really handy. You don't really notice it really until you've handled other ARs of like 16-inch barrels, your 18 or 20-inch barrels, like like my A4 clone. My A4 clone will stick out like way the heck out here, and it's just, I wouldn't call it unwieldy, but when you handle something this short, even versus a 16-inch barrel, this is actually quite a small, handy little package. And the best part is too, I've learned this from experience as well. When you're wearing body armor that has plates, it kind of sticks out a little bit, and it makes getting a traditional shoulder hold here just a little bit more difficult. So despite the fact that this length of pull here with the stock fully forward looks a little short, when you start working with body armor and stuff, it's going to push that out quite a bit. And so it actually kind of works in that way, along with the slant here in the back, to make it so it actually sits pretty comfortably when you're trying to get your good shooting position with body armor on. It's not the best thing in the world. You're not going to have the best support and everything else, or super duper rapid controllable fire, or the most accurate fire. But if you really need to make things work at the shorter ranges that M4 carbine is designed to engage in, it'll work just fine. So you don't necessarily need a longer length of pull. But that being said, if you're not wearing body armor, which is going to be 99.99% of the time, you can extend it out, obviously, and get yourself a nice, decent length of pull. Especially for someone that's tall like me. Like I'm 6 foot even. So this all the way forward is just a little cramped for me. But having it out is actually very comfortable and quite nice. So I, though, am I am not a huge fan of A2 style grips. I hate this little finger flange thing. I absolutely detest that. It's not too bad on this one, but I've had some ARs that have come with this A2 grip. It's terrible, absolutely terrible. There's all different kinds and sizes as well for these A2 grips, and they're not standardized at all. I don't care what anyone says about, well, it's mil spec, bro. Yeah, okay, sure. I've run across many of AR builds that are mil spec, dude, and these grips were all kinds of different sizes, jacked up and just awful. However, for the sake of this build, I might just keep it on there because, like I said, it hasn't bothered me too much. But I think I am at some point going to replace this with just a regular old Magpul, whatever. Because, like I said, I saw dudes in Kuwait, everything from Army Guard dudes who had really busted up old rifles to 10th Mountain Division and Spec Ops dudes wearing all kinds of different grips for their rifles. So if it works for them and they're using it, I consider that as official as it comes. So that's clone correct, bro. But yeah, shooting experience. I mean, I actually have never had a 14.5-inch AR, and I expected it to shoot pretty much just like my 16-inch carbine. But it was actually slightly different. It was very loud. Even my 16-incher is decently loud, but this was even louder. But still standard A2 flash hider here, so nothing too crazy. It's not one of those like obnoxious Aero Precision VG6s or Epsilon Gammas, whatever they call them, with the crazy muzzle brakes and everything to, as Clint Smith said, to tame the stunning recoil of a 223-556 caliber rifle, right? Obnoxious, absolutely obnoxious. Don't need that here. Also, it's not clone correct. Anyway, so yeah, pretty standard, but the shooting experience was actually really pleasant. With this handguard here with all the rails on it and everything, it's a very, very comfy hold. They do their job. They protect your hand from the heat and everything else from the barrel heating up. I did take this out to a desert shooting trip once, and I was lying in the sun, and it's all black, and Arizona heat is no joke. So yeah, it got quite hot. But even with this handguard and shooting all day, it worked just fine. So even with a carbine length gas system, I've shot plenty of carbine length gas systems before. Not that special, not that different. Pretty standard. Trigger was pretty okay. As Aero Precision standard lowers go with their just regular old trigger, I actually think they're pretty decent. They can call them mil spec or whatever they want to call them, but standard trigger works just fine. I have no complaints. Accuracy. So obviously it's a detachable carry handle. So when I went to accuracy test, I took the carry handle off and I put a 3-9 scope on it, just a regular old Leopold, nothing special, and took it out there with some Black Hills Mark 262 because I actually have some of that stuff. Just awesome ammo. And I was getting sub-MOA groups with this at 100 yards with that scope. So, and I really wasn't taking too much of my time. And like I said, it's got a regular trigger and regular stock grip, everything. With all of that set up, how it is, non-free float barrel, getting sub-MOA groups with Mark 262. I mean, that's pretty much what the M4 carbine was, I guess, more or less designed for. But maybe the Mark 12s or the A4 platforms, but designed for military ARs, right? So it shot extremely well out of this gun. And even with M193 loads, like just your basic 223-556 loads, this was actually shooting very, very well at 100 yards. I'd get 1.25 inch, 1.5 inch with regular M193 loads, closer to 1 inch with nicer ammo, 62 grain stuff, like more hunting ammo or defensive loads. Yeah, it all worked great out of this gun. And I was very, very happy with the accuracy that I was getting out of it. Because some people think that you got this short barrel and everything, it can't possibly be that accurate, but you'd be surprised. As far as iron sight shooting, with the carry handle, it's about as accurate as I need it to be. It's not as accurate as my A4 or A2, of course, because this is a much shorter sight radius than the A4, which is stretches off into infinity, makes it very easy to shoot at long range. But this shorter sight radius does work, good enough for what it's intended for, which is close range combat. So certainly fulfills that. I find if I'm trying to go fast, because those that know me know I am cross-eye dominant, so I am right-handed but left-eye dominant, and that makes shooting rifles and iron sights just a little tricky. But what I like about ARs and aperture sights in general is that I can actually use them both eyes open, just like this. no problem. I can use it with my right eye, right hand. And when I do that, I really much prefer using the larger aperture here. So let me fit this in here. So that's like the combat sight, the combat setting. It's much, much larger versus the long range or target aperture there, which is much, much smaller. Now I can still use that on my right side, but it takes me a lot longer to sight up on the target. So if I need to go fast and go quick at short distances, and I don't really care so much about accuracy and more about like volume of fire, then I'm definitely going to be using that open sight. So, but ideal setup at some point, I would like to get a Maytech rear sight on here, and maybe throw like an EOTech 512 or whatever the clone correct EOTech was. I think it's like a 552 or something. I forget the model name, but it's a 500 series EOTech. Because the Aimpoint, oh gosh, the Aimpoint Comp M2 and the Comp M4s are just so freaking expensive for a red dot. And like, you know, I like cloning and using stuff as much as the next guy, but at some point I have to be like, do I really want to spend that kind of money on just a rifle that kind of, you know, it'll function, yeah, but it's also kind of, I'm buying it mostly for looks and for aesthetics and, you know, for cool factor. I'm not necessarily a practical use, but, you know, absolutely could press this into practical use if I needed to for, you know, wet work and two-legged predators of the sort, right? So yeah, I also did try out a buddy's ACOG, 4X ACOG with a green chevron instead of a red, but you know, close enough. Basically the same ones the military uses on their M4s and A4s and ARs in general. And I find that I didn't like that optic so much, so I'm gonna forgo getting a ACOG for my clone builds because I don't know. I just didn't like the ACOG all that much, especially for how much they're asking. Too much money, and not that much perceived benefit in my case. So, but yeah, this thing has shot very, very well. I'm very impressed by BCM's level of quality, especially for what I paid for this. I mean, all this together, probably what, less than $1,000, you know. 200 for the lower, 550 for the upper. That's what, 750 right there, and 150 for the handguard. So you're up at 900, $60 for the carry handle there. So yeah, you're right at about 1,000, you know, more or less. So, but yeah, with that though, I mean, I'm super pleased with this, and it definitely does make me think of, you know, M4 service rifles, service carbines, you know, especially when you get the all metal mag in here, and that looks perfect. But yeah, I can definitely see why these M4 carbines were so popular. Very, very handy, very small, but still got enough firepower and getting enough juice out of the 5.56 round, even with a 14.5-inch barrel. You know, it's still not the best, of course, but you know, certainly adequate for the engagements that this rifle was designed for. You know, 300 meters and under, right? So yeah, super happy with this. Turned out well, and you know, I've got another, you know, clone, quote unquote, to add to my collection to sit alongside my A2, my A4. Now I just got to get a A1 at some point, maybe an XM 177 as well. But that's much further down the road, and I don't have as much connection to those as I do with this, of course, because this is something I would actually use and be issued. So yeah. Super cool, and you know, if you've never tried a M4 carbine build or a 14.5-inch pinned and welded rifle like this, it's pretty cool. It's very, very, very handy. So it gets a big recommend from me. So accuracy's there, reliability's there, triggers, you know, it's okay, it's serviceable. Yeah, it just works. What can I say, right? So yeah, very happy with it, and I just wanted to bring this to you guys finally, because I've had it for, you know, just a little bit, shot it just a little bit, but yeah, never doubt the usefulness of a carry handle. I know they're not in vogue right now, well, not for the tactical community anyways, but this actually came in quite handy when I was running around in the desert shooting stuff, and oh no, you need to run a drill where you need to either sling your rifle or switch to your pistol, you know. I literally just held it like this, took out my pistol, and just started, you know, blasting like that. Now, maybe not holding it exactly like this, but kind of, you know, at my side, pull the pistol out and shoot with one hand, versus everyone else in my little shooting group had to, you know, sling their rifle, throw it this way, throw it that way, you know, whatever. And of course, none of them have a bayonet. The bayonet, right? So, extra cool factor, right? So, yeah, anyway, that's enough of me gloating about this thing and how cool it is and how fun it was to shoot and, own. So, yeah, just want to bring that to you guys. Hope you enjoyed that. And if you have any doubt about BCM quality, man, have no doubts. This stuff is awesome. You get what you pay for. I definitely think it's worth the money. And they'll probably see my business again at some point in the future when I have a little bit more saved up. But yeah, fun times all around. So with that, we'll see you next time.